My phone lit up on the passenger seat, buzzing so hard it slid against the edge of my purse. Dad. I was parked outside the same oncology center where, 3 years earlier, I had learned what it felt like to walk into cancer treatment alone. My fingers curled around the steering wheel instead of the phone. When I finally answered, my father was crying. "Maureen," he said, his voice cracking, "I need you." For 1 second, I almost forgot everything. I almost became the daughter I used to be, the one who fixed things, swallowed things, showed up even when nobody showed up for her. Then he said, "Your mother can't handle me by herself. Caleb is too busy with work. You're the only one strong enough." Strong enough. That was what they called me when they wanted something. I looked through the windshield at the hospital entrance and remembered the last time I had begged them to be strong for me. I was 30 when the doctor said, "Stage 2. The room had gone quiet except for the soft ticking of the wall clock. There were pamphlets on the desk, a plastic model of abnormal cells, and my own hands twisting together in my lap while the doctor explained surgery, chemotherapy, timelines, and how quickly we needed to move. I didn't call a friend first. I didn't call my boss. I called my parents. "Dad," I sobbed when he picked up. "They found cancer. I don't know what to do." There was a pause, not the stunned pause of a parent trying to breathe through terror. A tired pause, like I had interrupted something inconvenient. Then my mother's voice came faintly through the speaker. "What happened?" I told them again. "Stage 2, treatment, surgery, appointments," I said. "I'm scared. I don't think I can do this alone." My father sighed. "Maureen, we can't handle this right now. Your brother is finishing college." I stopped crying for half a second because I thought I had misheard him. Mom came closer to the phone. "Caleb has worked so hard. We cannot have the family falling apart during his big moment." His big moment. My life had just split open, and they were worried about graduation photos. They promised they would check in after graduation. Somehow, by the end of the call, I was the one apologizing. I said I was sorry for upsetting them, sorry for the timing, sorry for needing too much. That was how it had always worked in our family. Caleb was the achievement. I was the backup plan. I paid my own rent, handled my own emergencies, and still got reminded not to make things difficult. A week later, I sat in an infusion chair with an IV taped to my hand and opened Facebook to distract myself. My mother had posted a family photo from Caleb's campus. The caption said, "Our family is facing a difficult health battle. Please pray for us while we support our daughter." I stared at the word support until the letters blurred. No one was beside me. No one had driven me there. No one had asked how I got home. 3 years later, my father sniffled into the phone and said, "After everything we did for you, you owe us." And all I could think was, what exactly did they do for me? For a few seconds, I didn't answer him. Dad took my silence the way he always did, as agreement. "The downstairs bathroom is too small," he continued. "Your mother's back is bad, and Caleb can't just drop everything. He just got promoted. You know how important this is for him." There it was again. Caleb's importance. Even after 3 years, even with my father crying on the phone, the family order had not changed. Caleb's life was always a reason. Mine was always an obstacle. "Family steps up, Maureen," Dad said. My thumb tightened around the phone. Because when I needed someone to step up, they had stepped away. The first time I realized I was truly alone was not during the diagnosis. It was during scheduling. A nurse named Paula sat across from me with a clipboard and said, "You'll need someone to drive you home after surgery. We can't release you alone." I nodded too quickly. "My mother will come." The lie came out before I could stop it. Paula smiled gently and wrote it down. "Good. You'll want someone with you the first 24 hours, too." "Of course," I said. But when I got to my car, I sat there with the discharge packet in my lap and stared at my phone for almost 10 minutes before texting my mother. "Surgery is scheduled for the 18th. Can you come for just one day? I need someone to drive me home." I watched the message sit there with no answer. 1 hour. 3 hours. 6. Then, close to midnight, my phone buzzed. It was a picture. Caleb in his cap and gown, standing between Mom and Dad, all three of them smiling under a banner that said, "Almost there." Under it, Mom wrote, "This month is impossible, honey. Your brother only graduates once." I read it twice, waiting for the second message. There wasn't one. No, are you scared? No, who will drive you? No, let's figure something out. Just a smiling photo, and a reminder that cancer had arrived at a bad time for everyone else. The next afternoon, I called Caleb. He picked up on the fourth ring. Noise in the background, probably campus, probably friends. "Hey," he said, "what's up?" I tried to keep my voice steady. "Did Mom and Dad tell you about my surgery?" A pause. "Yeah," he said slowly. "They mentioned it. They said they can't come, not even for one day." Another pause, shorter this time. "They're stressed, Maureen." "I'm having cancer surgery, Caleb." "I know, but graduation is a lot. Mom's been planning this forever." I pressed my palm against my forehead. "I'm not asking them to cancel your graduation. I'm asking for a ride home from the hospital." His voice lowered, like he was embarrassed by me even though no one could hear. "Can you not make graduation about cancer?" The words hit so cleanly, I didn't even respond at first. Cancer was not something I was doing to him. It was happening inside me. But somehow, in my family, even that had been turned into bad manners. "I have to go," I said. "Maureen." I hung up before he could soften it into something smaller than it was. After that, the red flags came quietly. Aunt Linda texted, "Your parents told us you're being brave. We're all praying." My cousin Marissa wrote, "Hope what we sent helped. Thinking of you." Uncle Ray left a voicemail saying, "Don't worry about being proud right now. Let people help." I didn't understand what any of it meant. I thought maybe they had mailed cards to Mom and Dad's house. Maybe they had dropped off casseroles my parents were too busy to bring. Maybe help meant prayer circles and church bulletins. Nothing ever came to my apartment. No card. No groceries. No gas money. No visit. On surgery day, my coworker Renee showed up at 6 in the morning with coffee she knew I couldn't drink and a tote bag full of magazines. "You don't have to do this," I told her as she helped me into the passenger seat. She glanced at me. "Apparently I do." I laughed, but it cracked halfway through. After surgery, when I woke up groggy and sore, Renee was in the chair beside me answering a nurse's questions because my mother's name was still on the paperwork, but my mother wasn't there. During chemo, a volunteer from the cancer center named Gloria sat with me on Thursdays. She was in her 70s, wore purple earrings, and always brought peppermints. "Anybody coming today?" she asked once. I looked at the empty chair beside me. "Not today." She didn't ask again after that. Every unanswered text, every excuse, every strange message from relatives. I screenshotted them and saved them in a folder on my phone called Later. I didn't know what later meant. Maybe later, they would apologize. Maybe later, I would ask why. Maybe later, I would stop needing an answer. Then one night, after a chemo round that left my bones aching and my mouth tasting like metal, I opened Facebook from bed. Caleb had posted pictures from his graduation dinner. White tablecloths, champagne glasses, a private room with gold balloons, Mom in a new dress, Dad with his arm around Caleb, beaming like the whole world had finally paid him back. And under my mother's shared post was the caption, "Thank you to everyone helping our family through this difficult season. Tonight, we celebrate hope." I sat up so fast the room tilted. Because in those photos, my parents looked supported. Caleb looked celebrated. And I finally understood that whatever help people thought they were giving, it had not been coming to me. 2 days after chemo, my mother called and told me I had to come to Caleb's graduation party. Not asked. Told. It'll look strange if you're not there, she said. I was sitting on the bathroom floor with a towel over my shoulders because I had just found another clump of hair in the sink. Mom, I said, I'm exhausted. It's only dinner. You can sit most of the time. I just had treatment. And Caleb just graduated, she replied. This weekend is not about illness. I looked at myself in the mirror above the sink. My face was thinner. My eyes looked too large. The scarf I had bought to cover my thinning hair was folded on the counter, bright blue, like it was trying too hard to be cheerful. What time? I asked. Because back then, some part of me still believed obedience could earn love. The party was in a private room at an Italian restaurant downtown. When I walked in, the first thing I saw was the banner stretched over the dessert table. Congratulations, Caleb. Gold balloons floated above framed photos of him at different ages. Caleb in Little League. Caleb with his college acceptance letter. Caleb in his cap and gown. There were no pictures of me anywhere, not even old family ones. It was like I had only been invited as proof that my parents were good people. Aunt Linda spotted me first. Oh, Maureen, she said, rushing over. Sweetheart. She hugged me carefully, like I might break. You look good, she added too quickly. I smiled because I knew people said that when they didn't know what else to say. Across the room, Mom watched me over her wineglass. Dad stood beside Caleb, laughing loudly with Uncle Ray. Caleb had a hand on the back of a chair, surrounded by friends, soaking in every compliment. Your parents have been amazing, Cousin Marissa said as she squeezed my arm. I don't know how they're juggling all of this. I blinked. Juggling what? She looked confused. You know, your treatments, Caleb's graduation, everything. Before I could ask what she meant, Aunt Linda leaned closer. I hope the money helped with your treatments, she said softly. The room noise faded. Forks against plates, laughter, someone popping open another bottle of champagne. All of it went distant. What money? I asked. Aunt Linda's smile disappeared. She glanced toward my parents. The money we sent your mom and dad. I didn't move. For my treatments. Yes, she whispered. Your father said insurance was taking forever and you were too proud to ask anyone directly. He said they were handling things quietly so you wouldn't be embarrassed. My hand tightened around my purse strap. How much? Aunt Linda swallowed. I don't know the total. I gave $500. Ray gave more, I think. Some people from church helped too. The private room suddenly felt too small. I could feel the scarf against my scalp, the tender skin under it, the weakness in my knees from walking in from the parking lot. $500 would have paid for the anti-nausea medication I had put on a credit card. $500 would have covered rides when I was too dizzy to drive. $500 would have meant I didn't have to choose between a bill and groceries that month. I didn't get any of it, I said. Aunt Linda's face drained. Before she could answer, Mom appeared beside us. Linda, she said brightly, they're about to bring the cake out. Maureen, come help me in the kitchen. Her nails pinched lightly around my wrist. I pulled back. Don't touch me. Mom's smile stayed on, but her eyes sharpened. Not here. Yes, here, I said. What money? Her mouth tightened. You are not doing this at your brother's party. Dad crossed the room before I even realized he had noticed. He moved with that calm, controlled expression he used whenever he wanted everyone to think he was the reasonable one. What's going on? He asked. I faced him. Aunt Linda said you collected money for my treatments. His eyes flicked to Linda for half a second. Then he put on a soft voice. Maureen, he said, you're confused. Medication can do that. People nearby stopped talking. I felt it happen, the shift in the room. Heads turned, conversations thinned. My parents were not denying it. They were managing me. I am not confused, I said. Mom stepped between me and the guests. Sweetheart, lower your voice. You told people you were helping me. We are helping you, Dad said, louder now for the audience. We've been under tremendous pressure as a family. As a family, I repeated. I drove myself to chemo last week. Mom's face flashed with panic, then hardened into performance. She's emotional, Mom said to Aunt Linda, but loud enough for others to hear. Treatment has been very hard on her. A few relatives softened instantly. I saw pity move across their faces, but it wasn't aimed at my parents. It was aimed at me, like I had become unstable in public. Caleb walked in with two friends behind him. "What is happening?" he asked. I turned to him. "Did you know they were collecting money for my cancer treatment?" His jaw tightened. Maureen, seriously. That's not an answer. He glanced at his friends, then at the cake table, then back at me. "Can you please go sit down before you ruin this?" The word ruin landed harder than his anger. Because I was standing there in a room decorated with money, I had needed to survive, and somehow I was still the problem. Dad reached for my elbow. His grip was firm enough to warn me and gentle enough to look caring. "Let's get you some air," he said. I yanked my arm free. "No." The whole room heard that. For the first time that night, Dad's face slipped. Not much, just enough for me to see the man behind the patient smile. Mom raised her voice with a tremble built into it. "Sweetheart, we know treatment has made you emotional." There it was, the perfect sentence, soft enough to sound loving, sharp enough to cut my credibility in half. I looked around the room. Caleb's friends stared into their drinks. Uncle Ray frowned at my father. Aunt Linda had one hand pressed to her mouth. I could have screamed then. I could have demanded every answer in front of everyone. But my legs were shaking, and the smell of garlic and wine was making my stomach roll. So I walked out before they brought the cake. In the parking lot, the night air hit my face cold and clean. I was halfway to my car when I heard footsteps behind me. "Maureen." Aunt Linda hurried toward me, digging through her purse. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't know, I swear I didn't know." She pressed a folded piece of paper into my hand. It was a receipt from a cashier's check. Payable to Frank Ellis. Memo line, Maureen Medical Help. My fingers went numb around it. Aunt Linda looked back toward the restaurant, then at me. "This was only my part," she whispered. Her voice broke as she added, "Maureen, your parents collected from almost everyone." I sat on my apartment floor that night with Aunt Linda's receipt in one hand and a stack of medical bills spread around me like evidence from someone else's life. The apartment was dark except for the kitchen light. I had kicked off my shoes by the door and left my scarf on the counter, too tired to pretend I was fine even for myself. The receipt was dated April 14th. I pulled one of my credit card statements closer and ran my finger down the charges until I found it. April 16th. Pharmacy. $287. That was the anti-nausea medication I almost didn't pick up because my checking account had less than $90 in it. I remembered standing at the pharmacy counter, sweating through my shirt, asking the woman behind the register, "Can I put part of it on one card and part on another?" And 2 days before that, Aunt Linda had given my father $500 for me. I stared at the dates until they stopped looking like numbers and started looking like a map. A map of where help had been diverted. The next morning, I called Aunt Linda from my couch with a blanket around my shoulders. "I need to ask you something," I said. "I'm not accusing you. I just need to know exactly what Dad told you." She was quiet for a second. Then she said, "He told me you were scared. He said you didn't want anyone to know how bad things were financially." My throat tightened. Did he say he was giving the money to me? He said he and Denise were handling everything. "Everything," I repeated. "Transportation, medication, meals. He said you were too proud to accept it directly." I closed my eyes. Too proud. I had not been proud. I had been alone. After we hung up, I called Uncle Ray. He answered with his usual rough cheer. "There she is. How are you feeling, kiddo?" "I need to ask about money," I said. The cheer vanished. "What money?" The money you sent Dad and Mom. For me. A long silence. Then Ray said, "They didn't give it to you." I didn't answer. He cursed under his breath. "I mailed your father a check for $1,000. The room seemed to tilt. "For treatment?" I asked. "For whatever you needed. He said you were behind on bills because insurance was dragging things out." My insurance was not perfect, but it was not dragging things out. My bills were arriving exactly on time. I was the one dragging myself to work between treatments to keep them paid. One call became three became six. Cousin Marissa had sent grocery gift cards to my parents' house because Mom told her I was too nauseous to shop. A woman from my parents' church had organized a small collection after Mom posted about our daughter's battle. One of Dad's old coworkers had given him cash in an envelope and told him to make sure I had transportation to chemo. Everyone sounded shocked. Everyone had believed the same story. Frank and Denise were carrying their daughter through cancer. Their daughter was too private to say thank you. Their daughter was being protected. Meanwhile, I had been sitting in infusion chairs beside strangers and pretending I wasn't watching the door. I started connecting pieces I had tried to ignore. Mom's Facebook posts with words like "our journey" and "our family's fight." The sudden private room for Caleb's graduation dinner. The gold balloons. The champagne. The new dress Mom wore that night. Caleb mentioning, casually, that Mom and Dad had helped him put a deposit on an apartment near his new job. The timing sat there like a handprint. The money had come in under my name. Then it had gone out under Caleb's future. I still didn't want to believe it without giving my parents one chance to explain. So I texted Dad. "I need records of any money collected for my treatment and where it went." He called within 5 minutes. Not worried. Angry. "What the hell are you doing?" he said. I sat up straighter on the couch, asking where the money went. "What money?" "The money relatives gave you for my medical care." His breath came hard through the phone. "Family money is not your business." "It was given for me." "It was given to this family," he snapped, "and this family has had a lot on its plate." I looked at the pill bottles lined up on my coffee table. "I'm the one with cancer. And you're not the only one affected by it." That sentence was so clean, so practiced, that I knew he had said it before. Maybe to Mom, maybe to Caleb, maybe to anyone who asked why the daughter with cancer was never seen with either parent beside her. "Send me the records," I said. His voice dropped colder. "You start digging, and people are going to think this disease made you bitter." I hung up. 10 minutes later, Mom sent a message so long it filled the screen. She said I had always been jealous of Caleb. She said I hated that the family had one happy event during a hard year. She said I was twisting things because treatment had made me angry. At the bottom, she wrote, "Your father and I did the best we could. Do not punish us for not being perfect." I read it once. Then I screenshotted it. Caleb texted that evening. "Whatever Mom and Dad did, they were under pressure. Don't blow up my life." Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "Did they take money meant for you?" Don't blow up my life. I saved that too. By then, my phone folder called Later had become something else. It wasn't a place for pain anymore. It was proof. I printed every unanswered text asking for rides. Every message where Mom said Caleb's graduation came first. Every Facebook post where she wrote like she was holding my hand through treatment, while Renee was the one sitting in hospital parking lots with me at dawn. I copied medical bills I had paid myself. I asked Aunt Linda to write down exactly what she donated, when, and why. She sent me a signed note the next day, along with a photo of the receipt. Uncle Ray sent a picture of the check from his bank records. Marissa forwarded the gift card confirmation. The church friend sent screenshots of the collection message Mom had shared. I did not post anything. I did not send a dramatic family-wide accusation. I was still in treatment, still weak, still trying to keep my job, still measuring my days by medication schedules and blood counts. I did not have the strength to fight a war while fighting cancer. But I had enough strength to make one decision. I stopped begging them. At my next appointment, Paula handed me a form and said, "Any changes to your emergency contact?" "Yes," I said. My voice did not shake. I crossed out my mother's name. In its place, I wrote Renee Ellis, then paused, almost laughed at myself and corrected it. Renee Carter. My coworker, my friend, the woman who showed up with coffee I couldn't drink and magazines I barely read. Paula glanced at the paper, but did not comment. I removed my parents from my hospital permissions. I changed the person allowed to receive updates. I told the front desk that Frank and Denise Ellis were not to be contacted about my care. It felt strange, cutting them out officially when they had already abandoned me in practice. But signing those forms made it real. The rest of treatment did not become easy. There were nights I slept on the bathroom floor because it was closer than the bed. There were mornings I cried while buttoning a work blouse over a body I barely recognized. There were days Renee drove me home, Gloria sat beside me, and neighbors left soup outside my door without making me perform gratitude. I survived because people helped. Just not the people who took credit for it. 3 years later, I was cancer-free. My hair had grown back darker and curlier. My bills were not gone, but they were organized. My body had scars, but it was mine. My phone still had the folder called Later, backed up in 3 places. And then Dad called crying. He told me he had a stroke scare. He said the doctors wanted follow-up appointments, diet changes, help bathing, help driving, someone to stay overnight until he was steady. "Your mother can't do it all," he said. "Caleb's career is taking off. This is different, Maureen. I'm your father." I sat in my car outside the oncology center, where I had gone for a routine follow-up, and watched a woman in a knit cap walk slowly through the sliding doors with a man holding her elbow. The old guilt rose up fast. It sounded like my mother. "Don't be difficult." It sounded like my father. "Family steps up." It sounded like Caleb. "Don't blow up my life." Then I thought of Aunt Linda's receipt. Uncle Ray's check. The pharmacy charge. The empty chair beside me during chemo. "I don't know," I said quietly. Dad exhaled, as if he had already won. Then I heard rustling on the line. A sharp whisper. My mother took the phone. "Maureen," she said, her voice tight with the same warning she had used in the restaurant kitchen. "Don't punish your father because you were difficult when you were sick." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I pulled the phone away from my ear, looked at my father's name glowing on the screen, then put it back. "Repeat that," I said. Mom went quiet. "What?" she asked. "Repeat what you just said." Her voice came back smaller, but sharper. "I said don't punish your father because you were difficult when you were sick." There it was. Not abandoned. Not scared. Not alone. Difficult. I sat still in the driver's seat and watched the automatic doors of the oncology center slide open and shut. Then Mom added, "Caleb's graduation was important. Parents can't be expected to drop everything for one adult child." Dad came back on the line, breathing heavily. "Maureen, enough," he said. "I need help bathing. I need help driving. Your mother can't lift me. I have appointments. You know hospitals better than anyone now, so this makes sense." For the first time in my life, I heard the request exactly as it was. Not love. Not regret. A job posting for the daughter they had trained to feel guilty. I said 5 words. "Call the people you paid." The silence after that was so complete I could hear my turn signal clicking, even though I hadn't turned it off. Dad spoke first. "What does that mean?" "It means I know about Aunt Linda's money," I said. "I know about Uncle Ray's check. I know about the grocery cards Marissa sent. I know about the church collection. I know Mom posted about supporting me while I sat through chemo alone." Neither of them interrupted. So I kept going. I know Caleb's graduation dinner happened right after the donations came in. I know you helped him with his apartment deposit. I know people gave you money for my medication, rides, meals, and bills, and I did not receive it. Mom's voice cracked, but not with guilt. With panic. You don't understand what we were dealing with. I understand exactly, I said. You used my cancer to collect sympathy. Then you used Caleb's graduation to spend it. Dad snapped, "Watch your mouth." No, I said. I watched it for 30 years. That was when I told them the rest. The group email had already gone out. No insults, no dramatic speech, just documents. My treatment timeline. Screenshots of texts where I asked for help and got excuses. Mom's posts about our family's fight. Copies of bills I paid myself. Aunt Linda's receipt. Uncle Ray's bank record. Marissa's gift card confirmation. The church friend's screenshots. And one sentence at the top. I did not receive the help you were told I received. Mom gasped. You sent that to everyone. Yes. You humiliated us. No, I said. I corrected the record. By the end of that day, the family's story had cracked open. Aunt Linda called first. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. I am so sorry, she said. I thought I was helping you. You were trying to, I told her. Uncle Ray didn't cry. He called Dad. I didn't hear the call, but Aunt Linda told me later he demanded every receipt, every dollar, and repayment for whatever had not gone to my care. Caleb called that night furious. Do you know what you've done? He said. Yes. You made me look like I took cancer money. Did you know? He went silent. Did you know, Caleb? They told me you refused help, he said finally. They said you didn't want anyone involved. I sent him the dates. Aunt Linda's receipt. My pharmacy charge. Uncle Ray's check. The apartment deposit timeline he had once casually mentioned. When he called back, his voice was different. They used your treatment money for my move, he said. For part of it, yes. He breathed out like the answer had hit somewhere deep. I didn't know, he said. I believe you, I replied, but you still told me not to make graduation about cancer. He didn't defend himself. That mattered more than any excuse would have. The consequences did not come all at once, but they came. Relatives stopped sending my parents money. The church removed Mom from the care committee after the collection's screenshots spread through the same people she had performed for. Uncle Ray threatened small claims court unless Dad repaid what he could. Caleb stopped letting my parents use his success as a shield. Dad did not move into my apartment. I sent a formal letter stating I would not provide caregiving, transportation, money, or medical decision support. A friend who worked in a law office helped me keep copies. Dad had to apply for county assistance and in-home care through the proper channels. Mom sold jewelry. The renovation she had been bragging about disappeared from her plans. Their house got quieter. Their phone calls got fewer. And mine did too. I kept limited contact with Caleb after he apologized without blaming me for the truth. We were not suddenly close, but for once, he spoke to me like a person instead of an interruption. I never went back to Sunday dinners. I never became the family fixer again. Once a month, I volunteer at the cancer center. Sometimes I sit beside patients who arrive alone. I don't ask too many questions, I just stay. Because I know what that chair feels like. My parents taught me that family could abandon me in the hardest fight of my life. Surviving taught me I never had to abandon myself.